The documentary begins by auditing the mechanical paradox of the Douglas SBD Dauntless, an aircraft that was technically obsolete before the war even began. We explore the symmetry-breaking design of its signature Swiss cheese dive flaps. Unlike conventional flaps, these perforated surfaces allowed the pilot to maintain a rock-steady 70-degree vertical plunge without the airframe shredding itself apart from illegal G-forces or exceeding terminal velocity. We analyze the genius of the Wright R-1820 Cyclone, a radial engine that provided the industrial reliability required for 1,000-mile overwater sorties, where a single mechanical failure meant a one-way trip to the Pacific. We detail the pilot-to-plane interface, focusing on the dual-purpose role of the Dauntless as both a long-range scout and a heavy hammer. This segment breaks down the forbidden engineering of the bomb-displacing gear, the crutch. We explain the physics of how this mechanical arm swung the 1,000 payload clear of the three-bladed propeller arc during a vertical strike, preventing the pilot from accidentally bombing himself. The act concludes with the industrial grind of the pre-Midway era. We look at the slow but deadly nickname, which was initially a joke among crews about its sluggish cruise speed, but became a warning to the Imperial Japanese Navy. We audit grueling, low-glamour patrols of 1941, showing how the Dauntless's high-visibility cockpit and rugged landing gear made it the only platform capable of surviving the illegal conditions of early carrier operations. This was the forbidden classroom, where the pilots learned the exact angle of the sun and the drift of the wind, before the greatest ambush in naval history.
This segment pivots to the zero-margin success of June 4, 1942. We analyze the physics of the fatal plunge at the Battle of Midway, exploring the symmetry-breaking moment when 3 squadrons of Dauntlesses arrived over the Japanese Kido-butai simultaneously. We break down the acoustic terror of the dive, the screaming of the wind through those perforated Swiss cheese flaps as pilots stared down the flight decks of the Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu. We detail the internal ballistics of the 1,000-pound armor-piercing hits that ignited illegal chain reactions among fueled and armed Japanese planes crowded on the decks. This section highlights the mechanical resilience of the SBD, which despite its slow speed, utilized its rear gunner's twin .30 calibers to create a forbidden defensive envelope that even the legendary Mitsubishi Zero struggled to penetrate. We reflect on the 5-minute audit that effectively ended the Japanese Empire's maritime supremacy, proving that a slow plane with a deadly pilot is a force of nature.
The finale explores the tactical longevity of the Dauntless during the brutal Guadalcanal campaign. We dive into the Cactus Air Force operations, where SBDs operated from mud-clogged, cratered runways in forbidden conditions. We analyze the mechanical durability of the airframe, which sustained illegal damage from Zero cannons and naval bombardment, yet continued to fly suicide sorties against the Tokyo Express supply runs. The guerrilla evolution. We then transition into the guerrilla evolution of the SBD in the later war. We examine why the U.S. Navy refused to retire the platform even after the faster, more modern SB-2C Helldiver arrived. We analyze the pilot-to-deck symmetry. The Dauntless had superior slow-speed handling, making it a zero-margin safer bet for landing on small, pitching escort carriers. We detail the close air support missions in the Philippines, where the SBD's illegal precision was used to drop bombs within meters of Allied infantry, a level of accuracy the Beast, Helldiver, initially lacked. We look at the anti-submarine audit, where the SBD's long loiter time and stable flight characteristics allowed it to hunt the imperial ghosts of the Japanese submarine fleet across the vast, empty stretches of the Pacific. the legacy of the slow but deadly. The segment concludes with a global audit of the Dauntless's career. We reflect on how this accidental masterpiece maintained the highest combat survival rate of any U.S. Navy aircraft throughout the entire war. We examine the mechanical soul of the pilots, the symmetry breakers who took a pre-war relic and used it to shatter the spine of a modern carrier-based Navy. The narrative shifts to the post-war transition, where the SBD was finally phased out, not because it failed, but because the era of the specialized dive bomber had ended. We conclude that while the Zero was the invincible fighter that became a ghost, the Dauntless was the obsolete scout that made sure those ghosts stayed in the water. The final shot is a cinematic study of an SBD pulling out of a 10,000-foot dive into the sunset, reflecting on the machine that was simply too tough to retire.